Hello everyone, welcome to Forever Cricket on Forever Sports. And after a couple of days of absolute chaos within the Proteas setup, Quinton de Kock has finally come out and spoken about the incident on Tuesday where he refused to play in the Proteas match against the West Indies as a result of a directive sent out by the CSA board on Tuesday morning that the entire team was expected to take the knee as a show of anti-racism gesture in their match against the West Indies. Now, a very, very chaotic 48-hour period, and Quinton de Kock was set to announce or to release a statement yesterday afternoon, which never came, and has officially been announced this morning. And he has confirmed that he will be taking the knee. And as at this stage, and assuming everything sort of works out, he will hopefully and then, in theory, join up with the rest of the squad. Now, there's quite a lot to dissect here, and it's quite a sensitive story for a lot of people, so it's quite a difficult one to talk about. But before we sort of go through the statement, sort of break it down, and just sort of talk a little bit about the entire situation, where it went wrong, and why sort of we ended up at a stage where Tim Bavuma, as a captain, is being told, an hour before he needs to go and take on the West Indies in a must-win World Cup clash, that his star player will not play. Please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Now, in terms of an order of events, apparently, according to, this is what happened basically. On Monday night, the CSA board met after a lot of social media attention was turned towards the Proteas as a result of their sort of the lack of unity in terms of the way that they were showing an anti-racism gesture. Now, ever since sort of last year, the West Indies were kind of sort of the team that pioneered it in terms of going with the Black Lives Matter movement and taking a knee ahead of games to sort of demonstrate that racism is still very prevalent in the society and that we need to sort of take a stand against and try to sort of put it into it. Now, South Africa is always going to be the most contentious subject because we have always been a country embattled with racism within sport, particularly, we're talking about cricket now, and cricket itself has always had a horrible, horrible history with racial segregation, and even now, we're currently having social justice hearings about the racism that's taken part, not even, pre-90s when black cricketers and players of color could not play with their white counterparts, but the racism that's been experienced in the last sort of 10 years, the last 15 years, post-94 democracy, within the Proteas setup, within all the setups at the moment. So it is always going to be very, very much, a microscope on the Proteas in terms of how they reacted. And it's unfortunately been a subject that the Proteas have not dealt with particularly well. I wouldn't say the Proteas themselves, I think CSA as a whole have never been particularly open, transparent, and direct about the approach. We saw last year, we didn't see too much sort of happening about it until sort of the SJN hearings. Lungengidi came out sort of and spoke about his experience and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, ahead of that three-team cricket, for example, we had all the teams taking a knee, and sort of Graham Smith next to Mackay Ntini, after Mackay Ntini shared his stories. And the problem is, even post sort of after that, there was never sort of the CSA gave Proteas an option and said, we've had the conversations. We encourage people to take the knee in solidarity as an anti-racism gesture. But if you don't feel comfortable doing so, as a lot of people do for various reasons, you don't have to. And as a result, that was kind of where they left it. And that's why we've sort of come to the situation where we saw last week, with, half the team kneeling with fists raised, half the team standing with fists raised, some people standing with their arms behind their backs, and very much to the outside, what was being called a very ununited stance and a very and no unity within the team. Now, as a result of the pressure grown by that, CSA issued a directive on Monday, which was then fed to the team on Tuesday before they left to get to the game on the bus, that the entire team would be expected to kneel ahead of the game on Tuesday. Now, as a result, Quinton de Kock then pulled out of the game, and there was no issue statement given. It was clarified that it was as a result of being forced to take the knee, but there was nothing sort of clarified about exactly what happened. As a result, Louisa Hendricks played on Tuesday. Actually played very well, ironically, and was part of a very, very successful victory. And then Temba Bavuma had to handle questions afterwards, which I think we can all agree he did absolutely superbly, saying that, everyone's different, everyone's an adult, and they make their own decisions. Quinton de Kock's mindset and reasoning is his own. They are teammates, therefore if he needs support, and he literally said if he needs a shoulder, the team will be the shoulder. He said he will be there for him, everyone will be there for him, He says that we were definitely surprised by the fact that he pulled out, and obviously, in many, I mean, at the end of the day, it does sort of let the team down when you suddenly your star player doesn't play. There's no sort of moving away from the fact that it leaves a massive hole in the side. But he said that we are a team and we will be there for whatever he needs to do. We'll have these conversations. And he admitted that it wasn't ideal the way CSA went about it. And I think, there's a lot of things to dissect when it comes to this issue. And the big thing is, before we sort of look at the statement, CSA could have avoided this entire situation had a decision made before the tournament. And I think that's the biggest problem. Regardless of where you stand on whether you kneel, whether you don't kneel, a decision needed to have been made, and they've got to stay consistent. If before the tournament you said to the team, and the team was given the option, said you do not have to kneel if you don't want to, you do what you have to do, then you have to stick to it and you have to ride with it then. You then have to be very open about it. And when a social media stir arises, you've got to come out and address it and say, we understand this is what it might look like. However, that is not the case. This is the discussions we have. This is the reasoning. This is how we will sort of show it, and have those conversations and be very transparent about it. But the problem is, as usual with CSA, is that they never get things right. And they never ever address it. As a result, they then have to make a quick decision to then say, right, we are now telling you guys to do this. You're telling them an hour or two before the game, and it's sort of a meltdown. So, 95% of this could have been avoided had a decision been made, regardless of what that decision was. Even if they said to all the players, listen, we feel it's important that you are a united front and that you all are very consistent. Therefore, we are telling you, please take the knee ahead of the games. Now, whether you agree with it or not, had it happened before the tournament and you'd had these conversations, which should have been had, this would not have been an issue. We wouldn't have had a match with QUINTON de Kock sitting on the side, whilst all these conversations take place. But now, QUINTON de Kock has finally released a statement. I'm going to read the entire statement because I think it's a very interesting statement. And I think it's very deliberately worded and very quite cleverly at certain parts, shifting, not shifting the blame, as to say he's got for the blame for a lot of it, but sort of exposing the core issue in terms of the way that CSA went about it. So this is the statement, and I'll read the entire statement and then we'll talk about it. It starts with, I would like to start by saying sorry to my teammates and the fans back home. I never ever wanted to make this a Quinton issue. I understand the importance of standing against racism, and I also understand the responsibility of us as players to set an example. If me taking a knee helps to educate others and make the lives of others better, I am more than happy to do so. So that is confirmation that he will take the knee. I do not in any way mean to disrespect anyone by not playing against West Indies, especially the West Indian team themselves. Maybe some people don't understand that we were just hit with this on Tuesday morning on the way to a game. I am deeply sorry for all the hurt, confusion, and anger that I have caused. I was quiet on this very important issue until now, but I feel I have to explain myself a little bit. For those of you who don't know, I come from a mixed race family. My half-sisters are colored and my stepmom is black. For me, black lives have mattered since I was born, not just because there was an international movement. The rights and the equality of all people is more important than any individual. I was raised to understand that we all have rights and they are important. I felt like my rights were taken away when I was told we had to do it in the way that we were told. Since our chat with the board last night, which was very emotional, I think we have all a better understanding of their intentions as well. I wish this had happened sooner because what happened on match day could have been avoided. I know I have an example to set. We were previously told we had the choice to do what we felt we wanted to do. I chose to keep my thoughts to myself, and I thought of the pride of playing for my family and my country. I didn't understand why I had to prove it with a gesture when I live and learn and love people from all walks of life every day. When you are told what to do with no discussion, I felt like it takes away the meaning. If I was racist, I would easily have taken the knee and lied, which is wrong. And that doesn't build a better society. Those who have grown up with me and played with me know what type of person I am. I've been called a lot of things as a cricketer. Dorf, I love the fact that he literally used the word Dorf in a formal statement. Stupid, selfish, immature, but those didn't hurt. Being called a racist because of a misunderstanding hurts me deeply. It hurts my family, it hurts my pregnant wife. I am not a racist. In my heart of hearts, I know that. And I think those who know me know that. I know I'm not great with words, but I've tried my best to explain how truly sorry I am for making like this about me. It is not. I won't lie, I was shocked that we were told on the way to an important match that there was an instruction that we had to follow with the perceived or else. I don't think I was the only one. We had camps, we had sessions, we had Zoom meetings. We know where we all stand, and this is together. I love every one of my teammates, and I love nothing more than playing for South Africa. I think it would have been better for everyone concerned if we had sorted this out before the tournament started. Then we could have focused on our job, to win cricket matches for our country. There always seems to be drama when we go to World Cups. That isn't fair. I just want to thank my teammates for their support, especially my captain Temba. People might not recognize this, but he is a flippin' amazing leader. At least you know that QUINTON de Kock did write the statement. If he and the team and South Africa will have me, I would love nothing more than to play cricket for my country again. A very long statement, one very clearly from QUINTON de Kock. Whether there was input or not, you can hear it's very much QUINTON de Kock coming through, and I think you hear it in the mannerisms, in the way that it's addressed. Now, there's a couple of things to unpack. First of all, he will be taking the knee, which is obviously very important because it means that QUINTON de Kock will, according to the CSA directive, be allowed to play and will play. I think obviously having this discussion with the board, I think that we then. If CSA are smart, I think they come out, we have a statement, we have a joint press conference, you talk about a couple of things, you put the issue to bed, you move on, and you focus on the next game. And I think he's got a lot of things right. I think that it would have been very difficult to have knee-jerk reactions and sitting there saying, well, if you haven't taken the knee, you've chosen to sit out, therefore you are racist, which is far too easy an assumption to make. However, unfortunately, if you look at the situation, the facts were that CSA had told everyone that they need to do an anti-racism gesture before the game, and then you've got a player who would rather not play than to do it. Now, unfortunately, as I said, the clarity was not there, and as a result, speculation is always going to arise. So there were always going to be people that were hurt by his decision not to play. There are going to be some people now who are hurt that he will take a knee, and there were some people that will sit there and say, well, you could have just said this, or, just stuck up and swallow your pride. The main thing, I think, as well, is what he addresses is the fact that CSA continuously dropped the ball in terms of not having the ducks in a row. And I think that's very important. I think that if CSA had managed to get this all sorted, regardless of where they stood, if before the tournament you had meetings and you said, listen, we understand you guys don't want to do it. However, we truly believe that it is in the best interest of the sport, of the country, of our mandate within the social justice and hearings, that you take a knee and that you do this. We don't get to this issue. And I think that, unfortunately, we've had 2 days of speculation, and the biggest thing now is to try and put it to bed. And I think that not to put the conversation to bed, though, I think it's very important that the team needs to now actually learn from this and be a bit more transparent about the conversations they're having, be a bit more transparent about where they stand on the issue, so that this doesn't happen. Obviously, right now, the team needs to focus on playing cricket, but I think the important thing is, and this is where the issues have come, is that the conversation, the dialogue continues long after the tournament, and that we understand from every single person's perspective where they stand, why they kneel, and where we sort of stand as a cricket fraternity. And I think that's the most important thing. So I know it's a bit of a long video, but as I said, it is a very complex issue, and I think it's sad that something which is supposed to a gesture which is supposed to unite everyone under the same sort of roof and sort of say that enough is enough, we want to move towards an inclusive nature of the sport, has become so divisive and so and just so sort of aggressive in many ways because of the sort of situation. And what I will say about the whole kneeling thing is I think that unfortunately it's a gesture which has been captured by multiple different sort of people, rhetorics, ideologies. And I think you've got to go back to the core. Where did the kneeling come from? It all came from, if you go back to Colin Kaepernick, when he first took a knee during the US national anthem, it was back in 2016. It was far before Black Lives Matter and came as a global movement. It was far before, the Floyd, George Floyd incident, stuff like that. And I think the important thing is it's quite interesting that, whilst, I think CSA very much sort of identified with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I think that if you understand it in its core principles, I think you can understand why it's enabled that and what the thinking is behind the movement. The issue then becomes that you can sort of take a stance, you can take a movement, and certain people can sort of move it in different ways, in different agendas. And I think that core principle of the idea of taking a knee to purely sort of demonstrate that it is an anti-racism gesture, suddenly now gets sort of being compared to a Marxist, leftist movement and anarchy and stuff like that, which I think, it's frustrating that that's something as simple as what we're supposed to be taking a knee as an anti-racism gesture can now sort of snowball into all these various things, which I don't think is always the case. I think if you look at the Premier League, they don't say that they're even part of Black Lives Matter. They just said they're saying united against racism. That's their campaign. They still take a knee because that is the global accepted practice of how you take it, make it an anti-racism gesture. And maybe that's a route that the protests need to suggest going, and maybe sort of sitting there saying that, we understand it is full of support of Black Lives Matter, we are up against racism, but, try and maybe steer it away, because I think that's where the issue comes with a lot of the general public, is that there's sort of this idea that as soon as you kneel, and as soon as you say Black Lives Matter, you identify with everything that is wrong with what certain people have sort of used the movement to sort of put the rhetoric out there. And I think it's very important. This is why dialogue is so important, because we need to come out, we need to speak about it, and we need to all be on the same page so that we understand the situation, we understand why it's happening, and we can talk about it properly, talk it through, and sort of arrive at a consensus. And you would never sort of finish the conversation. I think that's the important part. But you just need people on the same page so that we're moving forward together in a similar sort of idea. So I understand this is probably the longest video I've ever done, but it is such a complex issue, and I'd love to sort of have more conversations about it. But the situation at the end of the day is that Quinton de Kock at this stage says that he is prepared to take a knee for the team. If they'll have him, he would love to play for the team. And I think that they will take him back. I think we'll try and bury this issue quite quickly, and hopefully we'll see Quinton de Kock at the top of the order next to his captain Temba Bavuma, who I think his ratings have soared in the last couple of days. And I think he's been the perfect person to navigate such a difficult situation. And I really do think that, unfortunately, I think adversity, you don't want to have this as a team in a World Cup. I think they do get a lot stronger because of it. And hopefully we can get back to playing cricket and getting back to sort of the main thing. Let me know what you think of the situation down in the comments below. It's obviously very complex. Obviously, a lot of sort of layers you have to try and dissect. But I want to know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll chat to you soon.